Guess what? Today on Cooking with Tammy, I'm going to show you how to make the ultimate breakfast slash brunch recipe. We are going to be making a delicious melt in your mouth French toast casserole. This recipe right here, I can guarantee you is going to be like none other. Also, if you haven't purchased these seasonings already, I need you to go on over to cookingwithtammy.shop. Purchase these seasonings because we are going to be cooking a lot with them. And no, I haven't added this to the French toast, all right? This is not going to go in the casserole, but it is going to go into other recipes. So without further ado, guys, let's head on over to the kitchen and let's get it. First on up, as you can see, is our bread. For this particular recipe, I'm going to be using what's called a challah bread, very similar to a brioche bread. However, the challah bread does not consist of any dairy ingredients. Nevertheless, I find that it holds up really well when it comes to making French toast. Anyway, we'll talk about that a little later. We also have our eggs along with our sugar. We have both brown and white granulated sugar. However, you can substitute with the sugar, play around with it, and adjust it to your preference. We also have our half and half along with our eggs and our berries. I'm going to be using raspberries, blueberries, and blackberries. And to top it on off, we also have our whipped cream. We're also going to need butter. It's your preference whether or not if you want to use unsalted or salted butter. And for our spices, we're going to be using nutmeg, cinnamon, and vanilla extract. So with all of that being said, let's get to cooking. We're going to bring our bread to the front, grab that serrated knife, because guess what? It's the best knife when it comes to cutting into bread. As I mentioned earlier, the reason why I'm using the challah bread versus, let's say, another type of bread is because it's going to stand up to the custard that we're going to make in a few minutes. Sometimes when we make French toast, we tend to wonder, hey, why did it come out so soggy? And it's simply because one or two things. It's either the type of bread that you're using, or you're soaking it for too long in the custard, or when it comes time to frying it in the frying pan or the skillet, the heat is too high, and that causes the outer part of the French toast to fry up too quickly, but meanwhile, the inner part of the French toast is uncooked. So those are the little tips and tricks in order to perfect making French toast. Don't say you ain't learned nothing from Cooking with Tammy, right? You know I got you guys. Anyway, we're going to cut our bread up into cube-like bite-sized pieces. Once we're done, we're going to add it to our large bowl and set it to the side. It's time for us to work on making our custard. So we're going to grab our eggs, add it to a bowl, get in there with the whisk, break it down just a little bit. And we're going to add our half and half. Now, when it comes to the milk, it's up to your preference, like I said earlier. If you want to use 2% milk or let's say whole milk, you can definitely do that as well. I find that when using the half and half or heavy cream, it gives the French toast that nice creamy melt in your mouth flavor. Once we're done, we're going to add our sugar, both white and brown. We're going to get in there with the whisk, incorporate it really good. Make sure to get in there and break it down really good with the whisk. You don't want any of those sugar granules or particles literally sitting in the bottom of the bowl. Once everything is well incorporated, we're going to hit it off with a small pinch of nutmeg. Remember, nutmeg is really potent, so we're not going to use as much. We're also going to add a dash of ground cinnamon. Literally, a little bit too much came out, but you know something? It's still going to tie in perfectly. It's not going to be too much because we do have a large amount of bread that we're going to be using. Once we're done, we're going to add our vanilla extract, combine it really, really good, give it that final mix, make sure everything is perfectly incorporated. Once we're done, we're going to take that custard and we're going to pour it all over the bread, all right? We need to saturate the bread with this custard. It's really important. So after we pour it on, we're going to get in there with either, let's say, a spatula or your hands, all right? And you're going to combine it really good. We're going to press the bread on down into the custard because I want all of the bread to literally sop up all of the custard mixture. Now, here's the thing. I know sometimes when it comes to making a French toast casserole, some of us, we choose to soak the bread overnight. But in this instance, I don't find that is necessary. I find that if you do that from time to time, it's a little bit too soggy when it comes to cooking. Not to mention, you're going to have to cook it even longer. If we want to stay within the half an hour margin, or should I say the 35 minutes or 40-minute margin, it's best that after adding the custard, get your hands, or like I said, the spatula, submerge the bread into the custard and allow it to sit for an additional 5 to 10 minutes. You're going to pick that bread cube on up, make sure it's perfectly saturated, and if it's not, give it an additional 5 minutes. But if it's perfectly saturated, guess what, guys? The soaking process is done. We don't need to soak up any more custard. Grab our favorite casserole dish, make sure it's a large size one, all right? And if you want, you can add a little bit of nonstick cooking spray to the dish. It's totally optional. Make sure it's perfectly evened out into the dish. Let's add our butter to the microwave, melt it on down. Take that melted butter, drizzle it onto the casserole, and once we're done, we're gonna pop it on into the oven. And once we're done, we're gonna place it into our preheated 350-degree Fahrenheit oven, and we're gonna allow it to bake on up for about, like I said, 35 to 40 minutes. While this is doing what it do, in the meanwhile, we need to continue doing what we do, all right? So we're gonna grab our skillet, place it onto our stove top. At this point in time, the flame should be on medium heat, and we're gonna add some water along with sugar. We're gonna use some granulated sugar for this particular recipe right here, because I'm gonna show you how to make a delicious, all right? A delicious, I gotta emphasize on delicious, berry compote that's gonna pair perfectly with our French toast casserole. So once we're done, add that water. We're gonna add the sugar. We're gonna make somewhat of a syrup. Gonna stir it on up from time to time. We're gonna allow it to thicken up just a bit. Once it's nice and thickened, we're gonna start off with adding our raspberries, followed by our blueberries and blackberries. However, we're not gonna add all of it. We're just gonna add some of it. Of course, we gotta reserve some for later. And once the berries start to release its natural sugars, not to mention the sugar that we added earlier, once the sauce starts to reduce, it's going to thicken up and it's going to be absolutely amazing. However, we have more than enough time to work with our sauce because, like I said, our French toast casserole is in the oven. So this part right here, making the sauce, should take about maybe 10 to 15 minutes. And after about 10 minutes, our sauce has reduced. And we could leave it at this pace right here, or we could step it up a couple notches, all right? If you don't drink, not a problem. This right here is still going to be awesome. However, we're going to add some cognac to this saucy sauce to step it up a couple notches, all right? Just add it. Just be free-handed with it. Add as much or as little as you want to. Once you're done, we're going to stir it on up. Mix it up really, really good. And we're going to get back in there because we're going to realize that we didn't add enough. And we're going to add some more. Mix it up once again. Once you're done, you're going to turn that stove top off. And you're going to pull your French toast casserole out of the oven. You're going to hit it off with some of those fresh berries that we reserved. And you're going to top it off with a little bit of confectioner's sugar. Yes, make it snow a little bit. As you can see, we're looking good, all right? Looking really, really good. You're going to cut into it. Our French toast casserole is cooked all the way through. How do we know that? As you can see, it's nice and fluffy, not to mention once the inside is no longer wet or too moist, then that's going to be the perfect indication that our French toast casserole is perfect and ready to go. We're going to add some of our delicious cognac berry compote, and we're going to hit it off with some whipping cream, add some more of that delicious berry sauce, and we're going to get in there and take a big bite. Let me tell you, absolutely delicious and flavorful. This right here is drop your fork delicious. Anyway, guys, of course, I'm your girl cooking with Tammy, and I will definitely catch you guys in another video. Not to mention, I'm going to be coming out with my seafood saucy sauce pretty soon. Continue to support, and I will definitely catch you in another video. Talk to you later. Bye, guys.